He asked for a cappuccino. What he got was chaos. Milk missing, grinder unplugged, Jenny panicking, all in front of their first paying customer. And then she snapped. Not at him, at Sumit. One glare, one sharp reply, and one signature line. You know what I can do? I can go home. Within minutes of stepping into her new job at the family cafe, Jenny's threatening to quit. The customer walks out, the coffee's still not made, and Sumit? He just stands there, stunned, speechless, and slowly realizing this might already be a disaster in motion. Welcome to Reality Sport. I'm Oliva, and today we're breaking down the calf rollout that crashed before it could even walk. If you're watching this thinking, wait, how did it get this bad? This fast? Same. Don't forget to hit subscribe and drop a comment. Is Jenny being unfair? Or is Sumit expecting too much too soon? Because this wasn't some random tantrum. No, this was a buildup of money pressure, of confined living, of pride running straight into unpreparedness. Jenny's been saying it for days. She wants out of Sumit's parents' house. She needs her own place. Money isn't just motivation. It's a deadline. So when she agreed to help out at the caf, that espresso machine came with baggage. Failure wasn't inconvenient. It was personal. And yet, the push to show up just wasn't matched with the prep to succeed. Jenny didn't know where the milk was. She forgot how to grind beans. 24 hours of training hadn't stuck. Her first gig as a barista quickly turned spotlight of embarrassment. People were watching. The in-laws hovering, cameras rolling. And that one short line, I can go home, hit Sumit harder than anything else. Not because she said it, but because deep down, he knew she meant it. See, this wasn't about coffee. This was about control. Jenny doesn't want to be told what to do. Least of all by Sumit's family. And yet here she was, being corrected by her husband, in front of them, over something she thought would help them move forward. The humiliation cut deep. So much that walking away felt easier than trying again. But here's the thing. If Jenny quits now, it's not just one shift she's walking away from. It's the dream she said she wanted. Can this calf survive day one? Or are they already halfway to closing, before the first bill even prints? Jenny's never been subtle about what she wants. And right now, she wants one thing. Out. Out of Sumit's parents' house. Out of dependency. Out of conversations where she has to ask for basics, explain herself, or share a kitchen with someone judging how she scrubs a pan. According to her, the fastest way out is money. Fast cash. Calf profits. A magical espresso machine that delivers not just drinks, but independence. But what happens when that dream starts slipping before the first receipt is printed? The intensity is rising fast. Jenny doesn't just want money. She needs it like oxygen. You can see it in her eyes every time she brings it up. And she brings it up constantly. It's not even about greed or comfort. It's panic. She's done the shared living struggle before. She's tired of being the foreigner in the middle of a family-owned space. And now, the same promise Sumit used to calm her fears, starting this calf together, is becoming another source of pressure she didn't sign up for. This isn't the same Jenny from the early seasons. Back then, she was all about love, risk, and romance. Now, she wants receipts and rent money. And the irony? Sumit is finally showing signs of growing up, just as Jenny's patience wears thin. Behind the scenes, he's taking on more than he ever has, worrying about logistics, defending her to his parents, and still trying to keep things calm between worlds. It's not flashy, and he's definitely not winning Manager of the Year. But there's a quiet shift happening. While Jenny fumes, Sumit absorbs. Still, tension doesn't stay quiet for long. Jenny's frustration isn't isolated. It's getting louder, sharper, more visible. You can feel it in the way she responds to correction, in how fast her tone shifts from passive to hostile. And buried under that is something even deeper: resentment. Toward Sumit for dragging her into this, and toward his parents for always watching, always judging, never fully accepting. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. And it's boiling. But if this is how they handle one customer, what happens when the stakes get real? Because sooner or later, there won't be just one awkward cappuccino order. There will be 5, 10, a whole crowd waiting. And if Jenny cracks this hard over one mistake, what happens when the orders pile up and nothing works? When your dream is funded by people who silently think you're the weak link? When your husband is too scared to pick sides? This isn't just a learning curve. It's a fault line. One more shift, and someone's going to fall through. He walks in, calm, curious, probably expecting a quick cup and a warm smile. Maybe even a little excitement about being the first official paying customer at a new cafe. What he gets instead is Jenny, staring blankly at the coffee machine like it's a spaceship. She doesn't know where the milk is. She doesn't know how to grind the beans. And nobody realizes the grinder isn't even plugged in. You can see it happening in real time. The smile drops from Jenny's face within seconds. She mutters something under her breath, looks around in a panic, opens the wrong drawer, checks the countertop twice, still no milk. And with every second that passes, the silence in the room grows thicker, like everyone's holding their breath, waiting for her to catch up. There's no catch-up. There's no recovery. What follows is a slow-motion disaster. Jenny starts asking questions out loud that no barista on the job should need to ask. Where's the milk container? How do I grind the beans? Then she calls for help. Not from someone experienced, from her father-in-law, who knows just as little about the machine as she does. The man's been peeling potatoes in contaminated water 24 hours earlier. Now he's being asked how to operate a commercial espresso machine. It's like watching someone use Siri to fly a plane. Mistakes pile up fast. Wrong buttons pressed. Milk still missing. Grinder totally unresponsive. Until the customer himself, yes, the paying guy, points out the obvious. The grinder isn't plugged in. Jenny stares at it like it betrayed her personally. And that's when Sumit walks in. He sees the chaos, the cold coffee, the unsatisfied customer, halfway out the door, and he tries to step in, logical, calm, maybe even a little hopeful that he can smooth it over. But Jenny's not interested in logic today. Instead of accepting the help, she explodes. This is where it shifts. In front of her husband. In front of the customer. In front of the very place that was supposed to help her take back her independence, Jenny doesn't apologize. She doesn't even acknowledge what went wrong. She snaps. You know what I can do? I can go home. That's not frustration. That's a threat. And just when you think it couldn't go worse, Jenny flips the switch. The first customer walks away. The cafe is officially open, but emotionally, it's already slammed shut. And now, there's only one question hanging in the thick air between them. What happens next? She says it often. Too often. When things get messy. When she feels cornered. When control slips. I can go home. Jenny doesn't throw plates. She doesn't scream. She wields withdrawal like a weapon. The threat to quit, to walk out, to disappear. It's her default defense. The only card she thinks she has left that still gets a reaction. And it works. Usually. But not this time. Sumit doesn't flinch. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't chase after her like he used to. He just stands there, jaw tight, hands clenched, disappointment written all over his face. For once, he's not begging. And that silence cuts sharper than any argument ever could. You can feel the dynamic shifting beneath the floorboards. Jenny's voice gets louder. Sumit's presence gets heavier. Because here's the thing, this cafe wasn't just a casual project. It was supposed to be a turning point. Jenny had spent the last few months making every sacrifice to fit into Sumit's world. From marrying into a family that never approved, to giving up the US for a life she barely recognized, to eating dal in a kitchen surrounded by criticism. And now, after all that, she's making lattes next to a man who still doesn't fully stand up to his parents in her defense. So yeah, she's ready to quit. Not because of the coffee, but because this wasn't supposed to be her life. Jenny thought she was choosing partnership. Love. A man who would leave tradition for her. What she's living feels more like a trap. And every time that frustration bubbles up, she threatens to exit. Not just situations, but the whole arrangement altogether. But Sumit? He's growing. Quietly. Slowly. And now visibly. Standing in the wreckage of one failed cappuccino, he looks at her, not with blame, but with boundaries. He tells her he's disappointed. He says he thought she was ready, that they've been preparing for so long, that she promised. She pushes back. Emotional. Says he embarrassed her. Says he doesn't get how hard this is for her. She's not wrong, but she's not listening either. Because underneath this entire blow-up is a truth both of them refuse to say out loud. When they moved back in with his parents, they broke an agreement. This was supposed to be their time, their space, their next chapter. Not a rerun of old power dynamics. Not another reason for her to feel like a visitor in her own life. But what Jenny says next leaves even Sumit speechless. She says she's trying her best. That if this isn't enough, maybe she shouldn't be part of this at all. The words hang in the air like smoke nobody knows how to clear. And for a second, it's not about the calf at all. It's about whether this life is survivable for either of them. After the customer walks out and the storm settles, for now, Sumit does what he's always done. He heads inside, away from the noise, away from Jenny, straight into another one. His father's waiting, eyes narrowed, arms folded, ready to talk. Not about the broken machine or the slow service, about Jenny. She doesn't respect the family, his father says. She's not serious. Words sharp enough to cut paper. Delivered with the cool confidence of someone who truly believes he's speaking facts, not opinions. No attempt to consider the pressure Jenny's under. No acknowledgement that maybe this situation is new for everyone. Just blame. But here's the part they never say out loud. This calf isn't just a restart for Jenny and Sumit. It's a cultural fuse box. On one side, modern boundaries, partnership, ambition, earned respect. On the other, tradition, hierarchy, roles that don't need discussion because they've been set in stone for generations. To Sumit's parents, showing up late or messing up an order isn't just a bad workday. It's character. It's failure. It's dishonor by default. Sumit listens, politely, tiredly, and doesn't defend her. Not completely. Because even he doesn't know whose side he's supposed to be on anymore. This is where things get dangerous. He loves his wife. That's clear. He's sacrificed to be with her. He's lied, fought, left comfort behind. But there's still a boy in him that wants his parents' approval. That gets quiet when they start talking. That hesitates when a boundary should have been drawn years ago. And that silence? It's starting to erode everything. You can feel the audience inching forward right now, watching Sumit like he's the wire in the middle of two ends of a fire. If Jenny feels unsupported, she'll crack. But if the parents feel disrespected, they'll tighten their grip. This calf was supposed to be neutral ground. Instead, it's turning into the new battleground. And cultural pressure doesn't wait. It creeps in through small actions, disapproving glances, whispered judgments, passive comments dropped during lunch. It builds until it bursts. Right now, the cracks are widening. The dad's comments aren't isolated. They're seeds. And if Sumit doesn't shut it down, fast, they will grow into resentment he can't contain. And it's not just Jenny who's reaching a breaking point. Because for the first time, Sumit is seeing clearly he can't pacify both sides forever. Someone's going to lose. The only question left is, who? Before this official opening day, before the grinder humiliation and the walkout, there was hope. The kind of hope that skips over planning and lands straight in fantasy. The soft launch. The family calf's grand spiritual kickoff. And if you watched that episode, you know exactly how wild that looked. They started with a cow urine ceremony. Yes, you heard that right. To bless the space, purify the energy, and invite good fortune. Spiritually meaningful for them, sure, but from a hygiene and optics point of view for viewers in the US, that alone had people side-eyeing the setup. Then came the food prep disaster. Potatoes being washed in water straight from the bathroom area, contaminated supplies, whole trays of food tossed because they weren't safe to serve, money lost before they even opened, time wasted, morale dented. Yet somehow, after all that, the family walked away with confidence. In their heads, this was a successful soft launch. They managed to hand out samples. People smiled. Cameras caught some positive reactions. So, in their minds, the formula was simple. Add a coffee machine, add Jenny as barista, profit incoming. That gap between reality and fantasy is exactly where everything is falling apart. Because while they were celebrating spiritual blessings, they skipped practical basics. Training, systems, roles, boundaries. Who does what when things go wrong? Jenny was handed a machine and a job title, not a skill set. And instead of respecting that learning takes time, they treated her like a plug-and-play employee ready to perform on day one. So when she walks into the calf full of anxiety, that tension is not about espresso. It is about every promise that has already been bent or broken. This is a woman who left her country, friends, and stability to live in a house where she often feels like an outsider. You really think she is melting down over milk and beans? No. The coffee is a symbol. Each mistake feels like proof that she doesn't belong, that nothing works in her favor here, that even when she tries, the deck is stacked. But there is another hard truth sitting right next to that sympathy. Wanting independence without putting in the preparation never works. Jenny wants money. She wants respect. She wants out of that house. All valid. But effort has to match expectations. You do not become a barista overnight because your husband bought a shiny machine. You do not run a calf because you hosted one sampler day where half the food went in the trash. Delusion gives you comfort. Grounded effort gives you results. And this family, right now, is high on the first and starving for the second. Because behind every burned coffee is a much deeper burn. That burn is resentment, unspoken disappointment. The slow realization that love might not be enough to fix a partnership where one side feels trapped and the other side feels unsupported. And sooner or later, no amount of prayers, ceremonies, or smiles in front of guests will cover that up. If you watch Sumit closely in these scenes, something shifts. For years, we have seen him as the appeaser, the guy who bends, lies, postpones, avoids. The man who hid his marriage from his parents, who cried rather than confront, who tried to keep everyone happy, and ended up hurting everyone anyway. But in that calf, after the first customer walks out and Jenny throws out her "I can go home" line, there is a new version of Sumit standing there. He is not yelling. He is not attacking. His voice stays controlled. But his words are different. He tells her he is disappointed. He says they prepared for this, that he expected her to try harder. In that moment, he is not playing the baby of the family. He is acting like someone who owns something, who has skin in the game, who needs this place to work because his dignity is tied to it. Jenny feels that shift instantly. You can see it in her face. She is not used to being on this side of Sumit. For years, the power in this relationship sat more with her. She was older. She was the one he chased across continents. She had the option to leave. He was always the one begging, pleading, explaining. Now, for the first time, he is the one expressing disappointment, drawing a line, calling her out in a way that is still respectful but firm, and instead of softening her, it triggers her. She could have said, "You are right. I messed this up. I was nervous. Help me learn." That kind of vulnerability would have changed everything. But her pride steps in faster than her self-awareness. Instead of apologizing, she doubles down. She reminds him how much she has already sacrificed, how hard this living situation is. She makes the moment about her pain instead of their problem. This is that internal loop both of them stay trapped in. For Jenny, survival means control. If she feels small or humiliated, she goes for the nuclear option, threatening to walk away, emotionally or physically. For Sumit, survival means finally being taken seriously, especially by the three strongest forces in his life: his parents and his wife. So when he pushes back now, he is not only defending the calf, he is defending the tiny bit of progress he has made from boy to man. And that is where things get fragile. Because yes, they have come far. Think about it. From secret affair to hidden marriage. From divorce battles with his family's expectations on his neck to convincing them to at least tolerate Jenny. From separate lives in two countries to this small, chaotic calf that is supposed to represent their shared new chapter. That is not nothing. That is years of emotional war. But progress does not mean security. One bad day, one badly handled conflict, one pattern that repeats too many times, and all of that history starts to feel shaky again. You see it in Sumit's eyes when he goes back inside. You see it in Jenny's body language when she pulls away instead of leaning in. This is no longer about coffee, or one customer, or even the in-laws' attitude. This is about who gets to steer the direction of their life together. For Jenny, control looks like saying, "If you do not treat me the way I think I deserve, I will leave." For Sumit, control now looks like saying, "If you want this life with me, you have to show up, not threaten to run every time something hurts." Neither one is speaking that out loud, but both are acting from that place. The danger is, when two people both grab for control at the same time, no one is steering. That is when relationships veer off the road. And that's when it stops being about one fight and becomes a war for control. Because after this, every small tension at the calf, every comment from his parents, every future mistake Jenny makes is going to land heavier. The next time she threatens to go home, it will not sound like drama. It will sound like a promise. And the next time he stands his ground, it may not come with the same calm. You can feel that they are tiptoeing at the edge of a line. One more shove from either side, and something permanent might crack. By the time the first day drags on, the calf feels heavy. Not from customers, but from tension. The chairs are mostly empty. The espresso machine is quiet. Everyone is moving around, but no one is relaxed. Sumit is hovering between the counter and the kitchen, trying to act normal, trying to keep the energy up. His dad is watching everything like a supervisor who never approved this plan in the first place. And Jenny? She is there, but not present. You can tell from the way she avoids eye contact, from the short answers, from the tight jaw. This was supposed to be their fresh start. Instead, it already feels like a burden, a chore, another space where no one feels at ease. The first customer walking out is not just a small embarrassment. It becomes the story in everyone's head. For the parents, it confirms their belief that Jenny is not capable. For Jenny, it confirms the belief that she is always the outsider who gets blamed when things go wrong. For Sumit, it confirms his fear that maybe he dreamed too big with the wrong tools. So, The question that people at home start asking is the same question that hangs between them. Is this calf doomed? Or are these painful early cracks just normal growing pains before things get better? Some viewers will say, every new business has messy days. Others will say, if they are this divided now, what happens when rent is due and there are still no customers? Both reactions have truth in them. As the day wears on, tiny interactions feel sharper. A look from Sumit's mom, a comment from his dad, a quiet sigh from Jenny when someone suggests she make another coffee. Each one chips away at any sense of we they had. The family is in the same building, but not on the same side. And when a family is already divided, a failing business does not create unity. It creates new ways to assign blame. Jenny hits her limit again. This time, it is not in front of a customer. It is in a quieter moment, when the rush that never came is finally over. She looks at Sumit with tired eyes and repeats the pattern. She says she does not want to do this. She does not want to be here. She wants out. Out of the calf. Out of the pressure. Out of being set up to fail and then judged for it. This time, though, something different happens. Sumit does not rush to comfort her. He does not beg her to stay behind the counter, to learn, to give it another chance. He does not wrap her in reassurance like he has in past seasons when she said she wanted to leave India. He hears her say she wants out, and instead of fighting it, he lets the words land. He looks hurt, yes, but he also looks resigned, tired. Like a man who has finally run out of please stay. That is the emotional twist. For the first time, it feels like if Jenny walks away from this calf, he is not going to chase her out the door. He might watch her leave and turn back to the espresso machine, to his father, to the mess, and decide that this dream has to move without her, or not at all. That is a different kind of heartbreak. Not dramatic, quiet, dangerous. But if she walks away now, what happens to everything they gave up for this? Because this calf is not just a building and a few tables. It represents years of sacrifice. Sumit's divorce, their immigration headaches, her strained relationship with her own family back home, his war with his parents, the loss of reputation in his community. All of that is tied into this little shop, this attempt at building a shared life. If she pulls out emotionally or refuses to participate, that string of sacrifices starts to feel less like a love story and more like a list of things they burned for no reason. And if that feeling settles in too long, it is not only the business at risk, it is the marriage. So, what happens after a day like that? After a failed first customer, a public threat to quit, a father quietly criticizing his daughter-in-law, and a husband standing in the wreckage of his fresh start, wondering if he miscalculated everything. The cameras cut, but life does not. We do not see Jenny storming off with suitcases. We do not see Sumit filing calf closure papers the next morning. She does come back. She stays in the house. She stays in the marriage. She stays in the shot. And that, in a way, is its own answer. Because for all the quitting talk, for all the I can go home lines, Jenny does not actually go. At least, not yet. The next day, the sun rises on the same calf. The same family, the same unsolved problems stitched under fresh clothes and forced smiles. Maybe she is less enthusiastic. Maybe he is quieter. Maybe the parents stare a little longer, waiting for proof they were right or wrong about her. But they all show up again. That is the thing about relationships like this. They do not explode in one big moment. They erode, drip by drip, or they harden into something stronger, forged in all this discomfort. If you step back, there is space for empathy on both sides. even if the behavior on screen makes you want to throw your remote at the wall. Jenny is older, in a foreign country, in a house where she has never been treated like an equal. She is exhausted, financially dependent, and desperately craving some corner of life where she feels competent and in control. When the calf exposes how unprepared she is, she feels naked, humiliated. So, she retreats into the only move she thinks will protect her dignity. Threatened to leave before someone pushes her out. On the flip side, Sumit is not some cartoon villain. And he is not a helpless child anymore either. He is trying, in his way, to build something real. To prove to his parents that his choice of wife does not mean he has chosen failure. To prove to Jenny that he can be a provider, a partner, not just a man caught in emotional quicksand. Watching her disengage from the one project that was supposed to unite them probably feels like betrayal on his side too. Two people, both scared, both proud, both trapped in old patterns that no longer fit the life they say they want. And that is the quiet punch of this whole calf storyline. It asks a hard question. How much of love is about feeling good, and how much is about doing hard, unglamorous work when you are already tired and resentful? Jenny wanting independence without effort is not sustainable. Sumit wanting peace without setting clear boundaries is not sustainable either. Something has to give. Does this incident end anything? No, they are still together. The calf is still open. The family is still judging. The tension is still humming under the surface. This day does not close the book. It writes a dangerous new chapter. Because now, everyone has seen where the fault lines are. The parents have seen Jenny crack. Jenny has seen Sumit's patience thin. Sumit has seen that he might not always be able to fix things with a hug and a teary speech. Next time there is a bad shift, next time a bill hits the table, next time a comment from his mom lands wrong, they both will remember this day. The unplugged grinder. The first customer walking out. The look on his face when she threatened to quit. The look on her face when he did not rush to stop her. So, where do they go from here? Do they learn from this and build better habits? Or repeat the same cycle until one of them finally means it when they say, "I'm done"? That is the question I want you to sit with. And if you think this calf drama is intense, wait until you see how these same control issues show up when money, jealousy, and family interference collide in other 90-Day Fiancé couples' lives. Because this is not the only relationship where love, loyalty, and survival are pulling in different directions.